we're talking about teams that can really guard, that don't really have an offensive threat. Iowa State goes on the road, loses at West Virginia. West Virginia is much better than what their record and what their league record says that they are. But, Mac, there are some warning signs with this Iowa State team. It's kind of the same situation. They can really guard. They make things uncomfortable for you. But when it comes down to it, when it's nut cutting time, who are you giving the ball to?
You know, as I was watching the game tonight, it wasn't even who they giving the ball to, you know, because the whole team had fouled out by the time they got down the stretch. They're playing 4-on-5. You know, like Lipsey's out there not even being guarded. He's their point guard. You know, guys are going under ball screens. They're sitting in the middle of the lane. It's one thing if that's your small forward, you know, like Andre Jackson at UConn when that was happening to him. But it's another thing when it's your point guard and he's got to initiate. He's got to get around people. He's got to get in the lane. It's like it's hard to get in the lane when your defender's standing there. And I just feel like, you know, the last 2 games now, Iowa State, they haven't looked very good on offense. You know, I give TJ all the credit in the world because I thought when he went 1-3-1 tonight against, you know, West Virginia, it really bothered them. Seemed like the way they got their points were, even though they were patient, seemed like they got their points just, I don't know, sort of chunky and not very fluid. And that's what the 1-3-1 does for you. But I just don't think they're good enough on the offensive end, a little bit like Tennessee, to make a deep run in March.
Goodman, you agree?
West Virginia is kind of the opposite, right? I mean, West Virginia has kind of flipped it this year to where Huggins now has a really good offensive team, and they're not quite as tough, not quite as good defensively, but they got some dudes that can break you down and make some plays. And Eric Stevenson's been awesome the last 3 games, and he cooled off. He got hurt tonight, came back, didn't look himself. But some of the other guys stepped up. Emmett Matthews was great down the stretch. And listen, personally, I would love to see, you know, Hugs, almost 70 years old, get to the NCAA tournament and do what Boeheim hasn't done and just say, you know what, I'm out. I'm going to go out on top, if that's what you want to call it, getting to the NCAA tournament, at least going out the right way. Because I think I don't know if he's next, but I think he's among the next where NIL says, you know what, I don't want to deal with this shit anymore.
Yeah. Here's the issue with West Virginia. They are 15-9 overall right now. They are 4-7 in their league. They are a 10 seed as of today and are fielding the 68 bracket. They are a top 20 team on KenPom. They have really good metrics on in the net as well. Mac, you mentioned this last time we were on. The coaches in that league know who has road games left against what teams. Here are the road games that West Virginia has left on their schedule. Texas, Baylor, Kansas, and Iowa State. They still got to go on the road to play the 4 best teams in that conference. And they're already 4-7 in the league. Like, look, I want them to get in. I love the story.
Well, they had to win tonight. Had to win.
I think that they were a really good team, but like, good luck, man.
Yeah,
you got to go 4-3 down the stretch, and you have the 4 toughest games that you're going to play all season in conference left to play.
I mean, you could be a really good team, which they are, and just you come up 0-4. But the thing about Hugs teams is I feel like those guys, Jeff may disagree this year. They're not the toughest in terms of like what you think about when you think of West Virginia toughness, but he's the type of coach that figures a game or 2 like that out on the road where you're like, holy shit, man, I had no idea those guys were going to pull that one off. I don't know where it's going to be because those 4 games on the road are monster games. But
they just got to win their 3 at home. They honestly just, if they can beat Texas Tech, Oklahoma State, and Kansas State at home.
Very doable.
Right. They go 3-4. That puts them at 7-11 in the league. 7-11 in the Big East this year with what they did
or
in
the Big
non-conference.
12, either
or
one.
the Big 12, yeah.
Right. That gets
West Virginia left the Big East like 10 years ago. Good.
But I said Big East. Sorry, Big 12. That's what I meant.
Hey, if they steal one of those road games,
then
they're looking all right.
Iowa State last year was the same situation, right? They were 7-11 in the league, and they got I believe it was an 11 seed and made a run to the Sweet 16. So it was doable.
I got my hat on for Hugs too to try to get to the tournament.
I got the shirt on. For Deshaun Butler. My guy Deshaun Butler.
I don't think people realize how much. And Mac, you could talk a little bit about this because he kind of had the black hat. He was kind of the black sheep of from the outside with college basketball. But Bob Huggins' reputation within the coaching fraternity is what, Chris?
Oh, it's awesome. I mean, guys love him. He's just a normal dude, man. loves his fishing. His players will run through a wall for him. That dates back all the way to, when he was at Akron. Yeah. He's just a guy that kids love playing for. And I don't think that's changed. Even though he's gotten older, he's not as fiery as he used to be. No. Although he was giving it to the ref on that charge call at the end. But yeah, I mean, Hugs is very well respected within the coaching community.
You ever been out with Hugs, listening to Hugs tell stories, Mac?
I have. Usually I head home, when he still stays out. He's well out, after hours when everything closes down. And I usually had an 8 a.m. or 9 a.m. game I was trying to get to.
You didn't make it for those 8 a.m.
Hey,